You want change, not surface change, not momentary inspiration that fades by Friday. You want forever change. Change that cuts through the noise, shakes the foundation, and builds a life that even the heavens recognize. But let me tell you something you weren't taught in school, weren't told by friends, and haven't yet fully believed. Real change isn't accidental. It's not the result of time, talent, or timing. It's the result of discipline, hard, holy, non-negotiable discipline. And not just once, not just when it's easy, but every single day you breathe. Change doesn't visit the casual. It crowns the committed. It lives in the trenches of repetition, not in the peaks of motivation. The life you want? It's already waiting, but it's guarded by the 5 disciplines most people run from. And that's why most people stay stuck. Not because they're weak, but because they were never told the price of freedom. You see, the world doesn't need more talented people. It needs more disciplined ones. People who show up when they don't feel like it. People who do what needs to be done without applause. People who've decided that comfort is the enemy and commitment is king, because discipline is the architect of greatness. It is the chisel that carves out confidence. It is the law you write on your own heart when the world gives you none. And everything you admire in others, the focus, the peace, the strength, the clarity, all of it was built brick by brick on the back of discipline. Nothing more, nothing less. And the 5 disciplines that will change your life forever, they are not rules. They are revelations. They are not steps. They are standards. They don't whisper. They command. They don't beg. They become you. The first is this. You must discipline your mind like a warrior sharpens his blade. Your thoughts are not passive passengers. They are architects. Every word you speak to yourself is a blueprint. Every thought you allow is a seed. You cannot plant doubt and expect confidence. You cannot water fear and expect faith. You must ruthlessly discipline the mental landscape of your life, filter it, feed it, focus it. You must guard your mind from the chaos of the world like it holds the formula to your freedom, because it does. The undisciplined mind is a playground for weakness, but the trained mind, the one anchored in vision, strengthened by principle, and soaked in clarity, that mind becomes a fortress. And when your mind is strong, your future is inevitable. But you don't just need a strong mind, you need a disciplined body, a vessel that doesn't leak energy, that doesn't drain your dreams through neglect. Your body is not your ornament, it's your engine. It's the physical foundation on which every dream stands or falls. A tired body leads to a tired vision. A sick body leads to sick decisions. You want to rise? You must command your body like a general commands his army. Wake it, move it, nourish it, push it. Don't ask it to be easy, ask it to be ready. Because when your body is aligned with your mind, momentum becomes automatic. And no, it's not about perfection, it's about power. It's about saying, I will not treat this sacred instrument like a trash bin. I will not disrespect the tool I've been given to build my legacy. But a sharp mind and a strong body are useless without the discipline of emotional control. This is where most people lose. They are ruled by moods, slaves to circumstances. Puppets pulled by emotion instead of principle. But discipline says, my emotions are real, but they are not my rulers. I feel them, but I do not follow them. I lead, I choose, I direct. Because greatness is not achieved by people who always feel good, it's achieved by people who do good despite how they feel. Discipline is the ability to keep moving when your soul is storming, to keep giving when your tank is empty, to choose purpose over comfort even when your flesh begs you to quit. That's what separates men from boys, legends from victims, builders from beggars. And now we come to the discipline that unlocks all the rest. Time. The most sacred currency on earth. Every second is a seed, and how you spend it reveals who you serve. You can't say you want change and keep wasting your mornings. You can't say you want impact while scrolling through distraction. Discipline means treating your time like a vault, not a vending machine. It means cutting out the noise, saying no to average, turning your phone off, blocking out the hours, owning your calendar like it's sacred ground because it is. Time is life. It's not money. It's more than money. You can always make more dollars. You can never make more days. So if you want your life to rise, you must stop spending your time and start investing it. And finally, the crown jewel of them, all the discipline of character. The discipline of living with integrity when it's costly, of telling the truth when it hurts, of keeping your word when it's no longer convenient. The world is full of people who can perform. It's starving for people who are real. And nothing will take you further, faster, and more powerfully than the daily discipline of being undeniably you. Not the filtered version, not the polished one, but the real one. The one whose habits align with their values. The one who refuses to fake it for claps. The one who builds in silence and lets their life become the roar. Because in the end, the 5 disciplines that will change your life forever aren't magic. They're not elite secrets. They're ancient truths. A sharp mind. A strong body, emotional control, ruthless time discipline, and unshakable character. You master those and your future doesn't stand a chance. It must rise. It must obey. Because discipline doesn't just shape your life, it demands a new one. You want to know what happens when these 5 disciplines are no longer a theory but a lifestyle? When they're no longer an idea in your notebook but the non-negotiables burned into the backbone of your day? You begin to walk different. You begin to speak with a weight behind your words. Your presence shifts the room, not because you're trying, but because you are. Because when a person masters these disciplines, they no longer chase the world. The world moves around them. They become immovable. They become inevitable. Not because they got lucky, but because they earned it with sweat, with silence, with standards that never flinch. Most people live like the clock is infinite. They live like there will always be more time to start tomorrow, more chances to make a change, more room to delay the breakthrough they secretly crave. But discipline, true, visceral, unshakable discipline knows better. It knows life is urgent, that the sand is slipping, that the man who waits for the right time will be buried with unused potential still in his chest. So he acts, he moves, not because it's comfortable, not because he has all the answers, but because he has decided that who he's becoming matters more than what he feels. And let me speak this into your bones. No one is coming to enforce your discipline for you. You can read every book, watch every video, fill your walls with quotes. But until you decide that your standards are no longer negotiable, nothing will stick. You must become your own enforcer, your own mentor, your own motivator, trainer, warrior, commander. That's what the greats do. They don't wait to be told. They don't need someone else's permission. They wake up and lead themselves, their day, their destiny. But here's the secret most never understand. Discipline doesn't shrink you, it frees you. It doesn't chain you, it cuts the chains. The more discipline you apply, the more clarity you unlock. The more structure you build, the more energy you feel. The more focused your life becomes, the louder your purpose roars. The person without discipline is not free. They are enslaved to every passing emotion, every fleeting distraction, every invitation to delay. But the disciplined? They are free to create, free to move, free to live on offense instead of defense, free to build something that lasts beyond their lifetime. That's what this is about. Not just having a good week, not just feeling better about yourself for a moment. This is about building a life that outlasts you, a life that shakes the ground when you walk, a name that means something when it's spoken, a legacy carved not in marble, but in memory and how you made people feel, in what you built with your days, and how fiercely you fought to become the version of you that fear could never touch. And it all starts with the 5 disciplines, one decision at a time, one sunrise at a time, one standard at a time. You've heard enough promises. You've seen enough hype. What the world needs now is evidence, proof. Not of perfection, but of people living with conviction. People whose daily life proves what they say they believe. Because belief without behavior is a lie. And the only way to prove your belief in your future is by forging it in discipline. So if you say you want to grow, then show it in how you move. Show it in how you guard your time, in how you speak about others, in how you train when the cameras are off, in how you choose the narrow path, while the rest follow comfort straight into collapse. Most people want the outcome, but not the overhaul. They want the body, but not the meal prep. They want the wealth, but not the budgeting. They want the respect, but not the reps in silence. They want results, but they still tolerate habits that scream regression. But you're different. You're still here. You're reading this because something in you is done playing small, done apologizing for your standards, done dragging dead weight into a destiny that demands wings. You don't want hype. You want honor. You don't want dopamine. You want discipline. You don't want to impress the crowd. You want to transform the culture. And transformation, real transformation, never happens on accident. It happens when you go to war with every part of you that prefers easy over excellence. When you stare down the voice that says this is good enough and reply, then it's time to level up. It happens when you bring your pain to the altar of purpose and let it burn, let it melt, let it become the fuel that drives you forward. Discipline isn't sterile, it's sacred. It is the daily decision to remember who you are becoming. To hold that image so clearly in your mind that the old you no longer fits. So you stop arguing with weakness. You stop debating delay. You stop making room for what drains you. And you start building a system that carries you when emotion can't. Because let's be honest, you won't always feel like doing the right thing. You won't always be motivated. Life will hit you. Loss will knock on your door. Disappointment will try to shake your spine loose. And in that moment, you will learn what you've really built. If your days are governed by discipline, you will still rise. You will still execute. You will still move forward. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. But if your life is governed by feeling, you will fold. You will retreat. You will let the enemy in without a fight. That's why we build discipline, not for the good days, but for the storm. Not for the applause, but for the silence. Not for the outcome, but for the becoming. Because you cannot control what life throws at you, but you can always control your preparation. You can always control your presence. You can always control your pattern. And when your patterns are pure, your future is no longer a question. It's a promise. Understand this with finality. Discipline is not about restriction. That's the lie. That's the narrative they've sold you. To keep you small, scattered, distracted, and weak. But the truth? Discipline is about liberation. Discipline frees you from the chaos. It frees you from dependence on emotion, from addiction to comfort, from the lies your lower self tells you in quiet moments to keep you safe. But safety is the sedative of strength. And comfort is the coffin of calling. You were not designed to merely survive the week. You were built to command the day. And the tool forged for that task is discipline. When you commit to the 5 disciplines, the sharpening of the mind, the strengthening of the body, the mastering of emotion, the defending of time, and the anchoring of character, you don't just become productive. You become dangerous. You become dangerous to fear, dangerous to stagnation, dangerous to generational cycles that break the moment you say, no more. And the day that happens, you stop trying to improve your life. You rebuild it from the ground up, like an architect with fire in his eyes. Every choice a brick, every discipline a beam, every sacrifice a stone laid in the foundation of something that will outlive you. And here's the quiet power no one talks about. People around you will feel it. Long before they understand it, long before they ask what changed, they'll feel something different. You'll walk into a room with a presence, because discipline gives you integrity, alignment. Your words match your walk. Your energy matches your results. You speak less, but when you do, people listen. Not because you're loud, but because you're grounded. That's what these disciplines do. They don't just build your goals, they build your gravity. And when others quit, you remain. When others hesitate, you act. When others chase applause, you chase alignment. That's when you know you're not just making progress. You're becoming the person who never needed to fake it. Because now, when you look in the mirror, you see someone forged, not found. Not hyped, honed. You see, the power of discipline is not just in what it helps you achieve. It's in who it makes you in the process. Goals come and go. Titles fade. Money moves. But identity. The identity built through years of disciplined daily choices that becomes unshakable. It becomes immortal. Because when you build yourself in discipline, you don't just become successful. You become solid, grounded, bulletproof. The storms come, but you do not shake. The winds blow, but you do not bend. Because you've built your life not on sand, not on hype, not on opinions, but on principle, on practice, on the quiet, consistent, unseen work that most never commit to. Discipline is how you earn your own respect. That's something no one talks about. Everyone's chasing validation, attention, approval, but all of that is fragile. It disappears the moment you fall. But self-respect, that's earned. And you earn it in the dark. You earn it when you get up at 5 a.m. when no one's watching. You earn it when you say no to what everyone else says yes to. You earn it when you keep your word, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. And once you have it, once you've earned your own respect, the world can't take that from you. It doesn't matter who doubts you, who rejects you, who misunderstands you, because you know what you've built. You know who you've become. And that knowledge is power. There will come a day, and it's closer than you think, where you will face a test that doesn't announce itself. It won't come with a countdown. It won't wait until you're ready. It will just arrive. A moment of loss, a door that slams shut, a betrayal, a failure, a pressure so heavy it makes lesser people fold. And when that moment comes, your response won't be a choice. It'll be a reflex. You will default to what you've trained. You will fall to the level of your habits. And that day will reveal what kind of person you've become. Whether you've built your identity in sand or whether you've forged it in steel. That's why discipline matters. Not for the sunshine, but for the storm. You want peace? Then build your systems, build your rituals, build your rhythms. Because when the chaos hits, and it will, you won't rise because you're strong that day. You'll rise because you've trained, because you've rehearsed greatness in the silence for years before anyone noticed. You won't have to think because you've already decided. And discipline, real discipline, is nothing more than a series of decisions made so consistently they become who you are. People are looking for magic. They're waiting for a switch to flip. But discipline isn't magic. Discipline is alchemy. It's how you turn doubt into confidence, time into legacy, effort into excellence. It's the daily conversion of invisible choices into visible results. And most won't do it. Not because they're not capable, but because they're too tolerant of delay. Too friendly with comfort, too patient with the things that poison their potential. But you, if you're still here, still reading, you're not most. You're here because something inside you won't shut up. Something raw, something ancient. A voice that's done watching your value be diluted by your habits. And that voice is right. You were not meant to coast. You were not meant to sit quietly on the bench of life while others write the history books. You were meant to roar, to build, to become. But that process, it will demand your full self. And that's what discipline does. It requires everything. But in return, it gives you everything back, multiplied. You lose laziness and gain energy. You lose distraction and gain clarity. You lose the false peace of comfort and gain the true strength of earned confidence. You begin to walk differently. You begin to attract differently because your energy stops screaming confusion and starts radiating alignment. That's what people feel when they meet someone who's disciplined. They feel it before they understand it. There's a certainty, a centeredness, a quiet intensity. Not because that person is perfect, but because they're anchored. They've taken the time to align their daily behaviors with their core values. They're not out here chasing approval, they're building legacy. They don't move to impress. They move with purpose. And every move builds more proof. That's what separates the impactful from the invisible, not talent, not luck, but discipline turned to identity. And let's be clear, this is not about being robotic. It's not about becoming some emotionless machine. No. This is about becoming alive, fully alive. Because the disciplined person doesn't numb out, they tune in, they feel more, they notice more, they process more deeply because they've cleared the clutter. Their systems are strong, so their spirit is free. Their rituals are non-negotiable, so their soul doesn't have to fight their calendar just to breathe. That's the paradox no one tells you. Discipline doesn't restrict you, it releases you. And maybe the most powerful truth of all, discipline is contagious. When you start living this way, others take notice. Not because you try to convert them, but because your life becomes evidence that it's possible. You become a mirror, a model. You give people permission to rise, not through your words, but through your walk. And the ripple effect of that is immeasurable. Because when one disciplined life touches another, it ignites a chain reaction. And entire families, communities, and generations get upgraded because one person decided to stop tolerating excuses and start embodying excellence. You want to lead? You want to influence? You want to build something immortal? Then hear this. Nothing you say will matter if your life doesn't match your message. And that alignment, that integrity is built in discipline. It's built in the mornings you don't skip, in the workouts you don't excuse, in the words you don't take back, in the promises you don't break when no one's watching. Because the person who can trust themselves becomes unstoppable. Most people live in a fog of self-doubt, not because they're weak, but because they've betrayed themselves too many times. They've made too many vows they never kept. Too many tomorrows that never came. And every broken promise becomes a crack in the mirror, until eventually they can't even look at their own reflection without shame. But discipline? Discipline repairs the mirror. Discipline makes you whole again. It rebuilds your confidence, one kept promise at a time. Every time you rise when you want to sleep, you're telling your subconscious, I am worthy of trust. Every time you do the hard thing first, every time you say no when everyone else says yes, every time you choose your future over your feelings, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to become great and start seeing yourself as someone who already is great because your habits are finally reflecting your worth. And that changes everything because the world responds to how you see yourself. When you carry discipline, you carry presence. And presence is power. People feel it. Opportunities notice it. Chaos respects it because you walk with weight. Not noise, not arrogance, but gravity, the kind that can only be built in silence through years of decisions no one clapped for. And when you've built that, when you've earned that, you no longer chase anything. You attract, you command. You become the kind of person who is impossible to ignore, not because you shout, but because your life speaks. And here's the most dangerous truth. Once you taste that kind of alignment, you'll never go back. You'll never again be able to tolerate the shallow. You'll never again make excuses for the mediocre. Because once you've lived with discipline, real, soul-deep, purpose-driven discipline, anything less feels like betrayal. Not just of your potential, but of your truth. Because now you've seen it. You've tasted what it's like to move through the world with clean hands and clear vision. To look in the mirror and see not just effort, but evidence. Not just potential, but proof. And you'll guard that with everything. Because now you know this isn't just about success. This isn't just about building a business, a brand, a body, a bank account. It's about becoming the kind of person your future can depend on. It's about becoming trusted by your family, by your friends, by your followers, by your future self. That trust is sacred. That trust is priceless. And that trust is only built through the one path most refuse to walk: discipline. Discipline is the great equalizer. It doesn't care where you come from. It doesn't care about your past, your pain, your privilege, or your problems. Discipline doesn't need your excuses. It needs your decision. You don't need more time. You don't need more followers. You don't need more motivation. You need to sit down with yourself, look your habits in the eye, and ask the hardest question of all, does the way I live reflect the life I say I want? Because if it doesn't, you already know what needs to change. You don't need a new plan. You need a new standard. You need to become disgusted with anything that wastes your time, your health, your mind, your money, your future. You need to make your days so sharp that average people feel uncomfortable in your presence, not because you're arrogant, but because you've trained your life into such high alignment that excuses can't survive near you. That's what discipline does. It creates a gravity around your life. It draws greatness in and pushes weakness out. And yes, there will be moments you want to quit. Moments where it feels pointless, where no one sees what you're doing, no one understands, and no one seems to care. But that's the proving ground. That's where destiny is earned. That's where the ordinary fall away and the uncommon rise. Because the uncommon don't need an audience. They don't need applause. They don't even need a reason, some days. They've burned the old life behind them. They've closed the escape routes. They've decided, I will live in discipline or not at all. And when you've built that kind of resolve, when the 5 disciplines of the mind, the body, the emotions, the time, and the soul are no longer habits but identity, you reach a point no one can take from you. You reach internal peace. You stop running. You stop pretending. You stop feeling like an imposter in your own life. Because now, you are the man. You are the woman. You are the example. You're no longer talking about the mountain. You became the mountain. And here's the final truth you must never forget. Life will not reward your dreams. It will reward your discipline. Not what you hoped for, what you habitualized. Not what you intended, what you endured. Not what you said, what you sustained. The future is not built in vision boards. It's built in what you do when no one is watching. You see, most people never get there. Not because they lack capacity, but because they grow tired of consistency. They underestimate the power of showing up. They overestimate the requirement of motivation. And when it doesn't feel electric anymore, they stop. But that's when the real ones begin. When the feeling fades and the ritual remains, you've entered the realm of those who don't just flirt with greatness, they marry it. Discipline is marriage to your mission. It's the vow you renew every day, not when you're on stage, but when you're alone. When no one sees the work, when the applause is gone, when your body aches and your mind tells you to skip, that's when the vow is proven. Because anyone can love the dream when it's new, but the discipline, they stay faithful when it's brutal. They stay loyal when it's lonely. They stay committed when the world forgets. And that's why their results look unfair. That's why their name carries weight. Because they didn't just work harder, they worked longer. When others fell asleep, they planned. When others scrolled, they read. When others drifted, they decided. And every quiet choice built a roar no one could ignore. That's what this is about, not just changing your habits, but raising your voice through your discipline. Letting the rhythm of your life say what your words never could. Because in the end, the disciplined person doesn't even need to promote themselves. Their energy becomes their reputation. Their body reflects their focus. Their work ethic speaks louder than their resume. Their relationships reflect the strength of their standards. They don't seek influence. They become influence because they've aligned their inner world with their outer one. And in a world addicted to noise and novelty, that kind of congruence is rare. It's magnetic. It's sacred. But you don't get there by accident. You get there by fire. And that fire must be fed daily by the kindling of structure, by the fuel of discipline, by the breath of responsibility. You cannot cheat it. You cannot fast track it. You become it. Slowly, fiercely, faithfully. Until one day your life no longer looks like something you designed, but something you were called to build. And on that day, you'll look back, not with regret, not with shame, but with the holy pride of someone who kept showing up. And the world will ask you how you did it. And you'll smile, not because it was easy, not because it was quick, but because it was discipline. Discipline is not something you try. It's something you become. You don't test it for a week. You don't hope it works out. You embody it, you breathe it, you bleed it, you etch it into the walls of your life like a sacred code. Because one day when the lights are off, when the path is unclear, when the hands of the clock seem to mock you, you will need something stronger than motivation. You will need a backbone of steel made from the 1,000 small decisions you honored when no one else did. And when that day comes, you'll realize this was never about being the best. It was about being ready, ready to carry the weight of your calling, ready to speak when silence is comfortable, ready to rise when every muscle wants to sink, ready to lead, not because you were chosen, but because you chose to become the one who would not break. You built a mind that could not be swayed, a body that could not be ignored, a spirit that could not be stopped. You trained your emotions to serve your vision, not sabotage it. You aligned your habits with heaven. You carved your character into concrete. And the world tried to shake you, but you stood. Because discipline held you when talent faded. Discipline held you when the feelings left. Discipline held you when the crowd disappeared. And now, your life speaks. It speaks in rhythm. It speaks in results. It speaks in presence. It speaks in power. You are not a product of chance. You are not the outcome of luck. You are the result of discipline relentlessly lived. So walk tall, speak clearly, move precisely, lead fiercely, and let your life say what words never could. This is what discipline built.